Welcome to Movie Caps. Today I will show you a comedy film from 2004 titled Eurotrip. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Immediately after graduating high school, Scott is dumped by his cheating girlfriend, Fiona, who tells him he's too predictable. But that does not make him miss the great graduation party that evening, which he attends with his best friend Cooper. There they meet up with their good friend Jenny and her twin brother Jamie. The twins are planning a trip to Europe. Jenny really wants to see Paris. A guy on stage addresses the song to the craziest girl in bed, and Fiona runs up to him. Everyone cheers except Scott, who just looks on in disbelief. The song can be summed up as, "Scotty doesn't know how I did it every Sunday with Fiona." Scott drinks the night away, and at home he lets it all out. He receives mail from his German pen pal Mika, with whom he has been friends for a few years. Mika expresses his sympathy about Fiona breaking up with him and that he wants to take the opportunity to come to America and meet in person. Scott, who is drunk, thinks Mika is a predator and tells him to stay away. In the morning, Scott's brother is in his room, reading his emails, amazed at how harshly he has rejected a girl from Germany. Still confused, Scott pulls out a photo and shows him the guy. That's when his brother explains to him that Mika is a common feminine name in Germany, similar to Michelle in English, and that she's an absolute babe. In Berlin, Mika blocks Scott. Cooper arrives at Scott's, who tells him what a big mistake he made with Mika. Scott really enjoyed chatting with her, and now that he knows she's a girl, he understands that he has feelings for her, but it's no use since he cannot reach her. Cooper says there is only one thing he can do, and that is to go to Berlin and apologize to Mika in person. Scott makes up excuses why he doesn't want to do it, but when Cooper mentions Fiona, Scott is game. Since they are strapped for cash, Cooper gets the idea to go to Germany as a courier and just deliver a package somewhere nearby. Unfortunately, there are no packages to Berlin, so they get tickets to London. On the flight there, Cooper admits that he has only one thing on his mind: European babes and intercourse. They arrive in London. Since the minimum drinking age in England is from 18, their first stop is a local pub. Unfortunately, they are met by soccer hooligans. It's a private Manchester United fan club, they say. Scotty says they are also Manchester fan club members from Ohio, so one of the thugs asks him to sing their theme song. Scott tries to back down, but the thug will not let up. He starts singing some random song, which is clearly wrong as everyone is getting ready to kick their ass. Luckily, the main fan, Maynard, says that the song was actually pretty good. Opens 2 bottles of beer for them, and they sing the song on repeat. The next day, Mika's friend helps her unblock Scott's email, and she tells him that Scott was the love of her life. Her friend grabs her and puts her on the desk, kissing her, at which point Scott wakes up. It was a dream. He and Cooper are still with the Manchester United fans after a crazy night and do not know where they are going. Maynard tells Scotty that they are on their way to see the game in Paris. Scotty remembers that the twins are in Paris and decides to call them. In Paris, when the Manchester fans run off to beat someone up, Scott and Cooper are finally able to escape them and meet up with the twins. The two enlighten Jamie and Jenny about the situation with Mika. The twins cannot believe Scott came all the way to Europe for a girl. With Jamie's new camera, which he bought after saving money for 4 years, they go to the Louvre. Unfortunately, the line outside the museum is a little bigger than expected. The robot there is creepy to Cooper, so Scott tries to play one too. The other robot is angry that its territory has been violated and they start fighting, with Scotty eventually winning after crushing the enemy robot's eggs. The group gets out, and at a restaurant Cooper suggests that the twins come with them to Berlin. Jenny agrees, but Jamie hesitates. Thanks to Scott's brilliant powers of persuasion, they quickly convince him. They buy train tickets, and Jamie keeps them in his travel money belt so they don't get robbed, along with everyone's money and passports. There Cooper notices a nice piece of buns, but it turns out to be just Jenny, who he does not even consider to be a girl. They do not go straight to Berlin, but with a few stops to fully enjoy their Eurotrip. As they start singing the song Scotty doesn't know in their compartment, a Frenchman joins them and makes himself comfortable between Cooper and Jamie. Despite the fact that there are other empty compartments, since they do not know the language, they let him be. It turns out that the Frenchman is a little strange, and Jamie has to sit with him alone on his side. In the next tunnel, things really get out of hand and the Frenchman is just kicked out. They get off at Cran-sur-Mer in northern France, and after hearing about the nude beach there, Cooper cannot pass up the opportunity. There they get ready to witness the sight, but are disappointed by the sausage party. Things get worse when Jenny arrives and the whole beach crowd notices a girl. Back on the train, they head for Amsterdam. Scotty has doubts about what he will say to Mika when he sees her, but Cooper reassures him that everything will be alright. Scott has another dream about Mika in which they make out. On the train, it's the Frenchman again, touching and licking Scott. In Amsterdam they must wait until morning for their next train. Cooper finds a flyer about the hottest club in the city's Red District and cannot pass up the opportunity to see the city in all its beauty there. Cooper, alone and happy, is greeted by the hostess, who tells him that this is the most erotic club in Amsterdam, where every one of his fantasies will be fulfilled. After the hostess realizes he is American, she tells him not to say any more, she knows what he needs. Scott and Jenny are sitting in a coffee shop enjoying their legal hash brownies. Meanwhile, Jamie goes to a camera store to get a new battery and have the camera thoroughly cleaned. The saleswoman compliments his beautiful camera and says that he really knows his stuff and that Jamie looks kind of cute, too. She asks him to meet her in the back. There she is, fascinated by Jamie's innocence, and gets on her knees to, as they say, give a mouth hug. Back at Cooper's, the hostess tells him that customers usually yell no but mean yes. For that reason she gives him a safe word to say, and until they hear it, they will not stop. Cooper does not want them to stop and does not even check. He gets handcuffed to the bed. The hostess yells, "Let us get started." The mood in the room quickly changes and Hans and Vander come in for the foreplay. As they are about to put clamps on his family jewels, Cooper remembers about the safe word. Unfortunately, he can't even read it, it's gibberish for him, and is given some suspense. Jamie, still in the midst of a mouth hug, is clumsily robbed of all their money, passports, and tickets. Meanwhile, Jenny and Scott begin to freak out and laugh uncontrollably. Scott begins to think they have been sold a bad batch of hash brownies. That's when the waiter comes in and explains to Scott that they are a simple bakery and do not sell hash brownies. Cooper, still trying to get the safe word right, summons the Fluggen something. I can only say that it's not what he wanted. Three of them meet and would rather not talk about what happened. Jamie, coming in like a new man, says he was robbed and it was great. They try to hitchhike to Berlin. Cooper is angry that Jamie is the only one that got to hook up in Amsterdam. After a while, a car stops and the driver does not speak English. Scott asks the driver with his broken German if he can take them to Berlin. The driver tells a few funny things he did in Berlin and says he will not set foot in there again. Scott takes this as a yes. They have arrived in Bratislava, Slovakia. The sight is terrible. The animals are angry, and when they ask the local if a train is coming soon, he says yes, they are building it right now. They count their leftover cash and come up with $1.83. With the Bratislava exchange rate, they are in a hotel with the most luxurious service and the best food in town. Scott tips the staff a nickel. The staff quits right there on the spot and is going to open his own hotel. With the last 27 cents, they visit a local club where the song Scotty Doesn't Know is playing. Cooper finally sets his sights on Jenny, but a man she met in Paris, Christoph, comes to see her and is surprised to meet her in Bratislava. It turns out that he is the owner of the club, and she is intrigued by him and follows him to the VIP room. Three boys drink the Green Fairy, a drink that is supposedly illegal in the States and causes hallucinations. Supposedly, they feel nothing. Then Jenny comes back to take a sip. Christoph has a wife and is also bi, so that was her cue to leave. Cooper sees Jamie making out with someone, which once again makes him feel like a loser that he still got no action. Until they turn around and it turns out to be Jenny. After a while, they realize it themselves and are both in shock. After the wild night, Cooper is still making fun of the twins and Jamie cannot control his embarrassment at this fact. The random local drives up to them and tells them he is their ride to Berlin. Finally they reach Berlin and Scott finds Mika's apartment building. Mika's father opens the door and tells Scott that Mika is away for the summer. Inside, he explains that his daughter was going to America to visit friends, but a few days ago she changed her mind. Scott knows he is the reason. Mika's stepbrother is creepy. The father tells Scott that Mika is participating in a summer program in Rome and that her group is boarding a ship tomorrow. Then she will be unreachable until the end of the summer. Scott tells his friends to call their parents and find a way to get home, but he will get to Rome at any cost. Jamie slaps a stack of cash on the table and says they are going to Rome. He sold his camera. Without wasting much time, they fly to Rome. Mika is there with a tour guide. The group finds out her whereabouts by checking Mika's group's schedule and they get there too, but the guards will not let them in, because it's only for private tour groups. Jenny tells them they are a private group also. Scott is a disabled child and Jamie is their guide and the group is let in. Inside, Jamie is stopped by the guard, who says that one of their guides has called in sick and asks to take in another group. He does so with flying colors, because he's a geek. Meanwhile, Scott and Cooper are looking for Mika, who is one floor above them. There, Mika's guide tells her about a rope attached to a bell of San Marco that is rung when a pope dies to notify the people of Rome. Scott and Cooper are hot on their trail. Just to see what the rope does, Cooper pulls on it and they go through the wrong doors to the restricted area. As the bell rings, people begin to pray because they believe that the pope has died. In the restricted room, Cooper finds the pope's hat and Scott tells him to stop fooling around. Cooper slaps a hat on Scott's head. He lights his hat on fire accidentally and throws Pope's hat in a fireplace. The white smoke from the hat signals that a new pope has been elected. This happens just as Mika's group is leaving the chapel. As the room is engulfed in smoke, Scott tries to open the window. He notices Mika in the crowd. Scott jumbles in the curtain and gets out on the balcony, calling for Mika. Everyone thinks he is the new pope and the crowd cheers, and Scott starts to play along. He's even on the news. After Scott has calmed everyone down, he calls for Mika, takes off the curtains and hat, slides down the banner and runs to her, only to be stopped by the guards. Scott and Cooper are in big trouble. At that moment, their friends from the Manchester United fan club arrive and tell the guards to keep their hands off their friends. Scott finally manages to confront Mika about his feelings for her and tells her that he traveled across Europe just to be with her. She is speechless. They finally get to massage each other in a confession booth. After a long while, they come out and she still cannot believe that he came for her. She asks him to keep writing to her and he definitely will. One of the visitors, to whom Jamie has given a guide to, praises him for his skills and offers him to visit all the museums in Europe. At the airport, 3 of them make their way back to the States. Cooper also had a good time in Europe, although he did not hit on any of the girls there, but did manage to hit on Jenny. 3 months later, Scott moves into the dorm. During his phone conversation with Cooper, who is now with Jenny, Cooper asks what Scotty's new roommate looks like. Mika knocks on the door of his room, having been assigned to the same room due to another misunderstanding about her name. Scotty and Mika embrace and get into bed together while Cooper calls for Scott on the other end of a still open call. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this.